My stock portfolio alone is up 43% today. What the hell just happened? So really quick, I'm gonna do my best to be as quick as possible and go over everything that happened in the last like 3 trading days, right? Because it was significant. So this is a snapshot of today, the S&P 500 and how it performed today, right? Green as ever. In fact, it was so green that this is the first time ever in history that the Dow Jones gained over 3,000 points in one day. Honestly, we deserve it. The last 4, we had 4 or 5 red days in a row, which were super ugly. But what the hell happened? So actually, I had a video already set up, recorded that I was going to upload at like 12 p.m. But then 1:30, 1:20 p.m. hit and the market's just ripped, right? And here is why. So it's actually funny that a couple of hours before that happened, Donald Trump on Truth Social said, "This is a great time to buy." And then before you know it, a couple hours later, we get the news that there's a 90-day pause on all tariffs for basically everybody but China, right? Every country that did not slap reciprocal tariffs on the USA, everybody else, all these other countries, no tariffs until like July, the next 90 days, right? And that's significant. And I'll talk about why in a second. So before I get into that, I posted this, in my Discord group, on Twitter, Instagram, everywhere, like the last week. And I mean, is it not true, right? This is the trade war cycle, how to trade a trade war in the market. So no progress is made, new tariffs introduced, market sells off on trade fears. There's a report that progress is made or there's a pause, markets rally, right? And then maybe no progress made again. So we've seen this already happen like once or twice. We've seen this wheel spin. Today, we got the biggest spin of them all. And it's actually funny, right? So what's the strategy here? What's Trump's plan? It's actually hilarious. We were talking about this in my group like 2 hours, almost 2 hours before the actual news came out. And here's what I said. Notice how he hasn't made any deals yet, meaning he kept saying, all these countries are calling me. They want to make deals. They want to negotiate. But I said, looks like he's waiting to mass negotiate and present the world with, let's say, 30 deals made with 30 countries and then have like the losers that don't want to negotiate and kind of isolate them, right? So I said this at 11 a.m. and we were talking about it. And then at 1 p.m., he basically does something very similar, right? Everybody that is, stubborn basically just got put into a corner and isolated. And now they're feeling the peer pressure of all these other countries that have no tariffs, right? Because they were playing nice, right? So they got rewarded. That was like the quote of the day. Let me see. Let me pull it up here. Do not retaliate and you will be rewarded. That was tweeted by the White House account. Now we have a 90-day window and what is going to happen in the market. So 90 days is interesting because it gives Trump some time to make deals with all these other countries that are playing nice, but it puts China on the clock, right? Because it's really China's like the main target here to kind of lower the tariffs. So it puts China on the clock. And let's say you're a Chinese company and the US market, right, is the biggest market of them all as far as consumers. So everybody wants to sell to Americans. Now, there's other countries from all over the world that manufacture in China. And now if China's being extra stubborn, they're going to be forced to probably move. So they're going to feel that pressure, right? China's going to feel that pressure because they export, right? That's their thing, exporting because of cheap labor. But there's all these international companies that are manufacturing inside of China. They're now like, okay, every other country has no tariffs. And I'm stuck here with my warehouse, my manufacturing, and I'm paying 125%, right? They raised it today again on China, right? Trump said another 25%. Not 104, now it's 125. So the pressure from all the businesses in China that are from all over the world is going to start to pile up, right? So China is on the clock. And I don't know who has the leverage here, but what I assume is going to happen in the next 90 days is Trump is going to, just like I said, present a deal with a bunch of, countries that are playing nice and they're going to get rewarded. And now China is, again, feeling more and more and more isolated. So, man, like for sure what could happen is like, we never know with Trump, like he could reverse it tomorrow, right? And said, you know what? No pause. Actually, let's put the tariffs back on. I don't think that's likely because he saw what's happening to the market and more importantly, the bond market. So like the 10 and 30, 20-year treasuries were getting dumped and the rates were going up, which is not good, right? Not gonna get into like macro because I'm no expert whatsoever, but that was not good for the US, right? But I think that was probably the best move that could be made, right? Everybody's playing nice, gets to reap the benefits, rewards, if you call them that, because I mean, this is like something that was initiated by Trump to begin with. So here's what I was going to talk about in the video I already had recorded, but scrapped. And it was the market accidentally showed its hand, right? It showed its cards. We're at the poker table and we got to see what the market's playing. It was an accident caused by I guess if you want to call it a fake rumor that got picked up by CNN and mainstream media. And then the White House had to step in and kind of denounce it that it's fake news. And everything reversed, right? So I think this was, on the 7th. So 2 days ago, a headline started going around about a 90-day pause on tariffs altogether. Markets, if you were in the markets on Monday, April 7th, we went from like red to crazy green, right? I think that S&P was up like 5-6%. Everything just skyrocketed based off of that one headline that got circulated and picked up. And then I think it took no more than like 45 minutes to an hour when the White House came out and said, not true. And then the whole move up got reversed and we went red. We went from going stupid green to red. And at that moment, I was like, that was like confirmation. I already knew it, but that was like validation that 100% right now the market is trading parallel with tariff anxiety. That's all the market cares about right now. It's not AI demand is slowing and that's why Nvidia was down. It's not like recession, inflation. No, it's the uncertainty around tariffs. Nobody really knows how to play it. This is kind of like a once in like 2-decade thing, right? It's been a long time since, well, I guess 2018, but this is like a full-on trade war, right? So the market is just going off anxiety. And it was at that moment where I told my group exactly those thoughts. And I said, buy, this was like yesterday, right? After the 7th and then the 8th on Tuesday. I said, buy every good company that is on your watch list because they're not going down because AI is, having a slump or the bubble burst or this or that. They're just going down off emotion right now. That's it. Unfortunately, like honestly, I wish that we had more time to accumulate because I was far from finished shopping, right? I have like 125K cash right now in my Robinhood ready, right? I started a little bit of buying. I've been selling options for income, but I was ready. That was the big thing, right? That was going to be the video that the market accidentally showed us its cards. So I want to reassure you right now if you have jitters or anxiety. In fact, it's actually funny. Like I tell people all the time, do not listen to headlines, right? Whether it's JP Morgan says this or mainstream media says this or CNN. Look at this. Look how quick it took to reverse. 4 hours ago, Goldman Sachs says to brace for a recession. This was like right before the headline came out. 1 hour later, after the tariffs, right, got paused, just in, Goldman Sachs have rescinded their recession call after the Trump pause. This was 1 hour. This was 60 minutes. This is why you don't listen to headlines. You just stick to your guns, stick to your research, and just keep accumulating companies that you like, that makes sense, right? Because if you're trading based off headlines, that's a strategy to lose. To recap what I did today, yesterday I added more shares of Micron. I've been nibbling here and there, but I've been selling a lot of options for income. And today, as soon as the market, right after that headline, right, we went super green. I closed basically not all, but most of my credit spreads, pocketed like, I think a total of 1,500 from that, then like another 2,000 from positions I opened today. I made some money today, right? And these were positions that I opened either last Friday or Monday or Tuesday. So I've been just kind of using the cash that I have, like the big dry powder on the sideline, just get some income while I'm waiting for really, really good prices. Now, if you ask me, it's not over, right? This doesn't mean that trade war's canceled, everything's rosy again, and the market is going to go up only. I just don't believe that. Why? Because the market is still super emotional, right? That's not when things start to slowly waddle their way back up. Because today was a record-breaking day. You know what record-breaking means? Record-breaking emotions. That's not a sign of a market that is calmed down and is ready to resume, normal operations. So, I think one headline could send us back down to like a really bad red day, but we also have a lot of time, right? The next 90 days are going to be interesting, and we'll see what happens in July. I'm not really sure. It's hard. I don't have a crystal ball, but my contrarian prediction, I like to be contrarian on things, and I think we're going to see a lot of red sometime between now and July, right? I just don't think it's over. So if you have cash on the sideline, right now is a good time to hedge, right, to the downside, especially if your whole portfolio is exposed long. If your holdings are rocketing sky high, sell some covered calls, but only if you know what you're doing. only if you know how they work, etc. If it's like meaningful amounts. I don't know if you should buy puts, but again, if you're doing it responsibly and you want to hedge to the downside, now is the day, right? Remember, keep this in the back of your mind, right? You want to make moves when we're at extremes right now, because that's where we are. We're at extremes. So when the market is this emotional and it has a super green day, make moves to hedge or like raise some cash for your portfolio when we go back down. When it has a super red day, right? Like the last 5 days, also make more moves to expose yourself to the upside, right? Some long moves. You don't want to hedge. You don't want to short when the market's down, which I saw so many people. And I told them, right, now's not the time to be a hero, right? Pure greed is when your bleeding portfolio, which is long, right? It's position long, and it's bleeding out, and now you also want to go short and bet against the market, right? No, like you missed your shot. Now be a reactor, not a predictor here, right? So react to the markets and wait for extremes, right? When it's extremely red, act. When it's extremely green, also act. Or the best thing probably for most of you is not to do anything. But if you want to, kind of be in the mix, then come join us at 444 Capital. Link will be in the description. What a day that we had. A lot of dubs in here today. But it's not just today, right? Because anybody, right? Anybody. I don't even want to share wins because it's so easy to make money when the market is up, when the S&P is up 10% in a day, right? Whatever. Judge us, judge our wins at the end of the year, not today. That was the emergency upload. I'm really curious what tomorrow, Thursday, April 10th, has in store, because after a day like today, I really don't know what to expect. Like, is it going to be another green day? Guess it's likely. Probably some relief, well-deserved relief. We had a terrible 5 red day sequence that was just, ugly, ugly, ugly. A lot of hedge funds. I heard rumblings of hedge funds blowing up. Yeah, leverage is a hell of a rug. Stay off leverage unless you know what you're doing. And I'll see you guys in the next video. I'll keep you guys updated on how the market moves and what I'm doing and how we're positioning ourselves. It's going to be an exciting 2025. I'll see you guys in the next video.